Hello, welcome back. I'm excited to be here with you. Today we're going to be talking about setting up MicroPython to run on XBee and just all the basics you need to do to get the environment running, and you can get we'll get our first Hello World app running on the XBee independently by the time we're all done. Now we're going to be doing this with the built-in tools from XCTU. Later in a later video I'll be talking about how to do all of this with PyCharm. So if that's what you're looking for, continue watching this. There's going to be some really good information, but you can always just go over to that one and just look at all the PyCharm stuff for now. All right, so let's get started. What we're going to need to do what you're going to need to make your life easier is this guide. It's the Digi MicroPython programming guide. I have a link in the description below for you. Also, you're gonna need XCTU from Digi. I assume you probably already have that by now, but here's the link, and this will be in the description below as well. All right. So step one, what we have to do is we need to first configure our radio to run the MicroPython. Now, I have a radio in here. It's set up as a router. It's in transparent mode. If you don't know what any of this stuff is, stop now, go back and watch some earlier videos talking about transparent mode, API mode, how to configure radios, things like that. We're going to be moving on from here. So like I said, that's sitting there in a router. I am using this PAN ID. This does not matter. We're not going to be talking to and sending messages back and forth yet. We're just going to be running Python on the radio today. The parameters we do care about today are AP mode. So and we are going to be using the AP mode 4, which is the MicroPython REPL. We need that. Let's go ahead and write that to our radio. Another one. Now this isn't mandatory, but I like using the 115.200. I've had a couple of issues using 9600 where maybe the communication was too slow and I just had some lag. I don't like it. So I've been 115.200 has been working pretty well. I tried going a little bit higher, but that didn't work. So don't go any higher than 115.200, or just keep it at 9600. I mean, it should work, right? All right, but that's it. That's all it takes to set the radio up. Next thing we need to do is we're going to set up the MicroPython terminal. So up here in Tools, we're going to click Tools and then MicroPython terminal. That'll get us this wonderful terminal window. We're going to configure the terminal window. My radio is on COM13, as you can see over here. Your port number will be right up there, COM13. And again, I'm using 115.200. If you're using 9600, you select the correct baud rate that you used when you configured your radio. Everything else is the default, and that's all we need to do. And click OK. We're configured. Now we can click Open. And now we have a Python terminal. Now if you click Enter a few times, you should be getting these carrots. Just those familiar old Python carrots. If you're not getting this, close the terminal, go look at your baud rate, make sure you have you wrote those configuration settings to your radio. That's typically what it is. Either it's not in AP mode 4 or your baud rate is incorrect. Or they don't match, not incorrect. So that's it. All right, so that's it. That's how you set up Python. So what we can do here is we can do just the simple hello world, right? Boom. Hello world, there it is. Can we do evaluations? Let's do 8 plus 8. 16, yeah. Python, running on the XBee. Nice and simple. Now what's interesting is on the XBee we have 4 different modes that we can, in which we can run Python. We have the direct mode, we have, what are they? Direct mode, paste mode, flash mode, file system. So we're going to go through each of those. So this right here, this is the direct mode, kind of just like using idle, no big deal. Let's clear that out and let's talk about flash mode. Oh, I'm sorry, paste mode is next. I'm just going to copy a little bit of code over here, really simple stuff. Now, for paste mode, to enter paste mode, you have to hit Control E, Control Echo, right? And that will bring up paste mode. Now, you would think that you could use Control V or Control Victor for to paste it in, but you can't. You actually have to do a right-click paste here, right? So I just right-click pasted that in, and you can now paste multiple lines of code all at once. Now, if I don't like that, if I don't want to run this, I made a mistake, I can hit Control C and cancel that and get out. but I do want to run that, so I'm going to click paste and do Control D, Control Delta to save and run. And so now I just ran hello world, and it evaluated 4 plus 9 to 13. It printed X. There it is. So it just ran that. What I just did there was hit Control R. What I'm trying to do is see, that code, we ran it only one time, right? So if I want to run that code again, I have to go into paste mode, paste it in, Control Delta, and run the code. Now this is good for testing little blocks of code, or not little blocks, maybe larger blocks. You just want to run it one time. But this is paste mode. That's how you do it. Super simple. The next mode we want to talk about is actually flash mode. Now, flash mode is, what if I wanted to put some code in here and I want to be able to just run it? I want to put it in local memory, right? So I can just keep running it over and over. Well, what we do here is we use Control, get rid of this. We do Control Foxtrot, Control F. Let me see. So Control F, like that, okay? Control F gets us into flash mode, and much like in paste mode, we just have to right click paste, okay? And we can do that. And then when we do Control Delta, what it does, it's erasing some stuff that I had in memory before, and it's asking me, it erased what was in there, it saved this code up here to main.mpy. We're not going to worry about that right now. And it's asking, do we want to automatically run this code at startup? Yes or no? The answer right now is no. We're going to talk about automatically running code here in a minute. So it said store code will not run at startup. Press Control R and REPL. This is REPL, right, to run the code at any time. So now we have our nice prompt. I'm going to hit Control R, and it's loading it up and it's running the code. Hello world, right? I can hit Control R again, and I can just keep running that code as much as I want. Now, that's way better than having to, copy and paste it every single time. Cool, so I'm gonna try something else now. I'm gonna do a Control D. So when you're out here at this prompt and you click Control Delta, that is how you give a soft reboot. So that's like hitting the reset button on, it's like hitting the reset button on your radio, right? So we're just going to reboot the radio. And we noticed what we have here is it soft rebooted, it came up, but we have our carrots and nothing's happening. Now I can use Control R here because I didn't unplug the radio, so this code's still sitting there in RAM, and so I can keep running the code that I flashed to it, right? So if we want to change this, let's try to change it. So Control F. I'm going to go ahead and paste what I put in there before, and I'm going to change print X. By the way, you can just type in here, right? So now X is going to equal 9 plus 7, right? And then I'm going to print X again. There we go. Control Delta. It's erasing. No, I don't want to run it automatically. Control R, and there we go. So we just updated the code that was sitting in RAM. Good. So that is flash. So this is running out of the flash memory. So we talked about direct method, just typing it in. We talked about pasting, just pasting blocks of code. We've talked about flash, which is where you paste a block of code and save it to the flash memory. And these are all fun for for testing. But if you really want to start writing programs and you want to save them on the radio and run them independently, they actually need to reside in the permanent memory of the radio, right? So this is where the file system comes in. Now this gets a little more complicated, not a whole lot, but a little more complicated. What we're going to do is we need to get out of the MicroPython terminal for a minute. I'm just going to pop that over there. I'm going to do a new one. We're going to go to Tools and then File System Manager right here. Great. And we're going to need to configure again. Now, if you haven't done anything, the same configuration should pop up. So mine did, COM13, same baud rate. Just verify that for yourself. Click OK. And now we're going to open. It's going to take a second, and what this is doing is it's reading the file system on the radio, and this is what we have on the radio. Remember that main.py that we flashed over here earlier? There it is. That's where it was saved. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this for now. I don't want that there. everything takes a little bit longer on the XBee. It's not a super powerful processor, right? So, yeah, we've connected, we did that. Oh yeah, if it's the first time if this is the first time you use this, what's probably going to happen is the XCTU is going to prompt you and say, oh, you don't have a file system, you need to format it or initialize it. Click OK and do that. If you're messing around and you screwed up a little bit, just go ahead and you can always just click Format the XBee system. It says this action will erase and reformat. Let's just go ahead and do that and see how long it takes. It's not too long. It's just reformats it. Not a lot of memory there anyway. Cool. It's been formatted successfully. So now we have a fresh file directory. So that's a good place to be. All right. So what I want to do here is let me introduce this little bit of code that I wrote. I mean, really, really simple, right? So very, very much what we did earlier. And this is in xbtest.py. And the way you get this onto your into your file system is you use the navigation scheme over here. So this means go up, and then you can double click into wherever the things are, right? I happen to have these two pieces. I have two files in here. The one we want right now is xbtest.py. So I'm connected, and I want to just drag this over to the XBee. Just copy it over there. I want to say this right now, and I'll probably say it a few more times. It is not best practice to load .py files onto the XBee. You really want to use MPy, so the MicroPython files, because of the overhead that it takes to run a Python file. But for now, these are really small. It doesn't really matter. So we'll go ahead and that's it. We just loaded a file onto the XBee. That's how you do it. You can write it somewhere else, put it here, drag it over, you're good to go. We'll come back to this a little bit later. We're going to close the file system manager. We're going to bring back the terminal. We're going to open this back up because our settings are still the same, just like that. So so see how that still has it in memory? Let me do a soft reboot. No bundled code to run. Now, what was going on there is, remember that main.mpy? That was that file was sitting in the. Let me bring it up. That mpy file was sitting over here, right? Then we deleted it. But that was a source code. It had already been loaded into flash memory. So when we first came back to the terminal, it was still in memory. So when I first came in here and I did Control-R to rerun the code, it just brought whatever was in memory. I did a soft reboot. It got rid of it. And there was no main.py. That file wasn't there to recompile, so there's nothing left to run. And so this is where we get to a no bundled code to run. And this is what you want to see. Just press Control-R, and we get rid of that. Cool. But what about our little XBee test file, right? What about this guy? So what you want to do to run that is you can just do a simple import. So we go import xbtest.py. Boom, hello world 13, right? Ignore this right here for now. By the way, this is not exactly how you do it in the real world. I'm just giving you an example of how you can do something. So now we've imported the XBee test code into the flash memory. So if I do R, D, nope, it didn't do it. Import xbtest.py. There we go. Yeah, it's not running there. At any rate, it doesn't really matter. But that's, you see, we put the file on and it ran, right? You're never going to use this again. You're never going to use it this way again from the console, right? Because the interesting thing here is that, you want to clear the terminal? Yes. When I'm doing a soft reboot, it's still not running. What we really want to do is we want to be able to write some code. We want to put it into a file, like a MicroPython file. We want to load that onto the XBee's file system, and we want to run that automatically. So that's what we're going to do next. That's what we're going to do right now. Clear the terminal. Let's close this. Let's get our file system back up. Oh, there we go. Good. Let's open it. And while it's opening, I'll show you, this is a really crazy complicated folder I have here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the xbtest.py out of there. This is, I called this one main.py. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm just going to copy main.py over here. All right. Good, good, good. All right, let's close that up. We'll get rid of that for now. Let's open this back up. See what we get. Now I'm going to do Control R. Let's see what's going to be in the memory. Anything? Oh, look at that. Look at that. So I did a reboot, and it's looking for main.py, and it ran this bit of code over here. Let's do a soft reboot and see what happens. Nothing. So it runs it. It noticed the main.py sitting over there, and it runs the code, but it doesn't recognize it when we reboot it. So if we lost power, it won't automatically restart. So how do we fix that? All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna close the terminal, and we're gonna go back to our configuration over here. And what we're gonna do is the parameter here is PS. That's the one we're looking for. There we go, MicroPython auto start. So if we click MicroPython auto start and we click enabled on that, let's write it. Now, when we open our terminal, I mean, it's still there, it's still running. That was a Control R, right? We'll let it go through. And if I do a soft reboot, ooh, there it is. So as soon as we reboot, every time you reboot, if this loses power, it's going to start running main.py. So that's it. At this point, the sky is the limit, right? You can just write a Python program just like you would for any other device, load it onto your XBee, and you can have it run automatically. A couple of things to note when we're doing this. Let me go ahead and get this code running. If you want, while it's going, we can always do Control-C to break out. That's it. What other notes do I have over here? Anything else we need to know about this? Yeah, I'm just going to reiterate it. It's not best practice to put a .py file into your file system. You want to do mpy. We're going to really talk about that using the PyCharm in the next video. And yeah, that's it. All right. Well, if you have any questions, let me know. Put them in the comments below. I'd love to help you out. And until next time, bye-bye.